So tonight's original, with in-depth reporting on a topic we've been watching, let's talk about the American Dream. A new series where we're looking at the promises that a lot of people think about when they think of the promise of America and whether or not those promises are actually happening for people. This week, it's about housing. Really, part of the definition of what the American Dream is. Work hard, save money, then buy a house. Maybe you have your family in that house. But that milestone is becoming more and more out of reach for a lot of us. First-time homebuyers made up the smallest percentage ever last year, only about 25%. So why is that happening? And more importantly, is it going to change? NBC News correspondent Sam Brock has the story.
In housing markets all over the country, big and small, coastal and inland, there's a riddle that first-time homebuyers like Kevin Lederer of Orlando are trying to solve.
When did your reality come crashing down on trying to buy a house?
About 2 years ago when I started making offers and getting outbid nonstop.
How do you navigate higher home prices, stiff competition, and now an uptick in interest rates all climbing in the last few years? Increasingly, the answer for millions is simple. You don't.
Everyone has the hope of owning a house. Is this shattering that illusion for many families?
Somewhat, yeah. Being a 31-year-old, recently married, having our first child, raising a family, like you want to have that American dream of having a home that you can build a family in.
It's not as if Kevin, who works in private investigative services, and his wife Hayden, a 28-year-old wedding coordinator, haven't been trying. The new parents saved up for a down payment for years and collectively make just under $200,000 annually. Still, it's not enough.
The typical first-time home buyer, the share actually dropped to the lowest level we've ever recorded in our 41-year history of the report. We also saw that the age jumped to the highest we've ever seen before.
To give you some better perspective, just over a quarter of homes sold between July of 2021 and the end of June 2022 were purchased by first-time buyers. That's a dramatic drop from the historic benchmark of 40%. And the average age, normally around Kevin and Hayden's, is now up to 36. Housing experts say part of the problem can be traced to rents soaring along with inflation, sapping savings, as well as the fact that first-time homebuyers aren't facing an even playing field.
First-time homebuyers, they do not have home equity to begin with. And we know that repeat buyers, they do have home equity. They already have a house.
All of these factors have thrown a wrench in many plans, along with geography in Kevin's case. The top two states for new residents are Texas and Florida, and a flood of new people means more demand and higher prices.
Shopping for a new single-family home in the U.S. is arguably harder than ever before.
There's a bidding war for literally every home on the market, every fixer-upper, every house that needs even a lot of work.
My neighbors, actually, because we were on vacation, were calling me and texting me saying, like, what is going on at your house? There's people in a line down the block. We saw two people having a fight.
With city dwellers emigrating to the suburbs and families looking for home offices and bigger yards, prices for the American Dream home have skyrocketed. Home prices surged in March 2021, up 13% from the year prior, according to the S&P Case-Shiller Index.
Everybody expected housing to really sort of dry up with the rest of the economy, and in fact, the opposite has happened.
With homeowners unwilling to sell, a record low supply of homes for sale has forced buyers into intense bidding wars. At the end of April 2021, there were only 1.16 million houses for sale in the U.S., down 20.5% from the year prior. Higher costs for land, labor, and building materials have also impacted home builders.
So currently in the United States, we have a huge shortage of housing. We're not producing nearly as much housing as we should be.
We know that home ownership is the primary way of getting into the middle class, but unfortunately, there are many impediments to that are divided by class and particularly race.
With the 30-year fixed mortgage rate hovering near a 50-year low and a strong demand pushing prices to all-time highs, why is the housing supply so meager? Is the U.S. running out of houses? The U.S. real estate market is red hot. Since the start of the pandemic, 5% of buyers who purchased a home did so without even physically seeing the home in person. In many markets, competitive bidding wars are the norm.
There's a bidding war for literally every home on the market, every fixer-upper, every...
Hi, it's Tisha Powell, and you probably know my face from Fox News, and you just saw two segments from CNBC about the housing market. So, as a realtor, I've been asked this over and over again. As a security attorney, I've been a security attorney for 18 years, working for Wall Street attorney. People ask me, I wrote the Homeowner's Guide to Surviving Foreclosure. People ask me all this every time. Will housing go down in the United States? And the answer is no, it's not going to go down. Because for the first time in history, the American population, they're competing with Wall Street. So there's no way for you to win. How do I know that? I was watching a news story in Miami. Wall Street owns up probably 30 or 40% of the single family homes in the United States. That's not enough. They just bought out, Wall Street just bought out an entire building in Miami, and they're buying out condos, just buying them out. And now we all have to compete for, townhomes. So get reality. Now you're saying, why would Wall Street do that? Because the United States government owes $33 trillion. It means we're in an inflation and we're never coming out. So get used to it. You cannot pay back $33 trillion. Don't let anybody fool you. We don't even know what $33 trillion look like. It is more than 1,000 buildings. It's Apple, Google. It's probably the 500 biggest corporations in the United States. It's crazy the amount of money that the federal government owes. And the federal government does not produce income. So the money is only coming from taxpayers, and they can only tax us for so long, So there's no paying back. So Wall Street left and went and bought up real estate because inflation, when you're in an inflation, everything raises, including assets. So you got to be realistic, people. Stop. People ask me every day, when is the housing market going to crash? It's not going to crash. Commercial real estate crashed. And so all those men and women who used to buy in commercial real estate, they're now in residential real estate competing with you. For the first time in history, the American population is competing with corporations to buy homes. I do not know why no one is telling you the story. This started when President Obama, first of all, it was President Clinton who introduced the FHA, and that's how they got in with the FHA low paying. Then President Obama went and shut down the banking system, and most of those banks were already Wall Street. So they foreclosed on people, so they got their homes. Then the 2% interest rate came. Wall Street timed the candlestick. If you ever work on Wall Street, you know what a candlestick is. So they knew the market dipped. The government gave us 2%. Inflation at the time was over 2%. So they had to buy assets. You get it, right? So they bought up all of the properties in the United States, and the market just keep getting higher and higher. And then the government now is trying to fight inflation because President Obama gave away what? $13 trillion. And then we have President Biden, like we're up to 33 trillion. So interest rate has to stay high. And the more we owe is the higher the interest rate is. So that just gives Wall Street even more leverage over everybody to buy. So start looking at townhomes, people. Start looking at townhomes. Townhomes are 265, 300,000. Wall Street might be coming for your townhomes because what they're doing, they are buying up they're just buying up a majority. They do it in Vail, they do it in Aspen, they do it all over. They're doing it in Florida, they do it in Manhattan. You can't compete with big money. Okay? We've got Governor Ron DeSantis running, and there's a big insurance crisis down in Florida, and now we've got Wall Street down in Florida buying up the condos, buy up the whole condo stuff, creating more shortage. So, and they're not coming out. They're not leaving. They won't leave. Why don't they leave? First of all, they have no mortgage on their properties. So those of you who are wishing for foreclosure, good luck on that. Wall Street don't really foreclose on their own properties because they are cash buyers. And number two, the inflation. It's inflation why they're not letting go of the properties. That's why people are not selling homes. The inflation is bad. Okay? When an inflation is bad, you hold on to your assets. All right? So we have big government and we have big inflation. So I hate to be the bearer of bad news. I'm just telling you. I'm Tisha Paul. Folks, subscribe for more. We'll be back with more. Take care.